welcome back to Zero Production Value Movie Reviews. As always, I'm Eric Hoernke. Today I'm going to be discussing the 2020 film The Gentleman, directed by Guy Ritchie. Now, Guy Ritchie has had kind of an eclectic career with plenty of tabloid headlines, mainly due to the fact that he was attached to Madonna for a while as paramour and husband. But in recent years, he's kind of settled down a bit, and in fact, last year he directed a Disney movie, for crying out loud, directing the fairly successful live-action adaptation of Aladdin. But really, when you think of Guy Ritchie, where your mind immediately goes back to is those gangster films, those British gangster films, and for the most part, the first two that he did, which were really the ones that made his name as a director, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. He had a couple more that were not as widely seen or as well regarded, but he really made his career with those two movies and went on to a very varied and fairly prolific career. And despite commercial success and commercial failure, I think swept away, he is never more creatively energized than when he's working in that gangster genre. Like, you can just feel it come off the screen. Like, that is really what he enjoys doing, and he's really in his wheelhouse with those kinds of stories. And this is a return to that mode of thinking and mode of filmmaking, because this is a stellar twisty, turny British gangster movie with an amazing cast headlined by all right himself, Matthew McConaughey. It's a serpentine plot that keeps your head kind of on a swivel, always kind of wondering where the next threat's going to come from. And this is a story that requires you to be engaged. You have to pay attention. But despite requiring your attention, it never really feels like overbearing or burdensome. Instead, it always feels pretty light, fun, lively, fresh. You have Guy Ritchie's trademark banter perfectly executed by a cast that includes Charlie Hunnam, Hugh Grant, Colin Farrell, Michelle Dockery, as well as the aforementioned McConaughey, among others. Like, everybody in this cast really does an amazing job. So McConaughey stars as an American actually living in the UK, which is really an interesting twist, because you know, to see that American, and you're not seeing, you know, Matthew McConaughey attempt a British accent or anything. He's actually an American who is now gone over there. His name is Mickey Pearson, and he is the marijuana kingpin of the United Kingdom, to which he feels like this is kind of, you know, one of those where he feels like very much at ease with his decision to be this sort of drug kingpin, as, you know, a lot of people think of marijuana as, I'm not going to say harmless, but, you know, a more recreational sort of drug, as opposed to something he has a definite thought that stuff like heroin and cocaine and stuff are much more, the harder edge stuff is not something that he chooses to traffic in. He is solely and specifically in marijuana. And he has a superlative product. He has a high quantity output process that nobody understands. It's very secretive and nobody can touch. And that's one of the things that allows him to be the Lion King of this sticky herb jungle, shall we say. Well, he's getting to that point, though. He's ready to sell the business and retire, ride off into the sunset with his beautiful queen, as he calls her, and he's just ready to move on to something different. And he finds an American billionaire who he basically shows his enterprise to, and he's going to give him not only the product, but his infrastructure and his selling model, and he's just going to take it all over. into that mix comes this Chinese underboss played by Henry Golding named Dry Eye. And as Hugh Grant so eloquently puts it, he bursts onto the scene like a millennial firework, basically trying to quickly, violently overthrow pretty much everybody in his path. And if they're not willing to get with him, then he is just going to, push them out of the way or brutally eliminate them. And he's trying to essentially seize control of everything he can with little or no regard to basically anybody else. Add into that Royal's missing kid, a Russian gangster's dead kid, Colin Farrell showing up as this weirdly zen sort of boxing coach to this Lost Boys sort of crew of miscreants, a newspaper editor out for Mickey's blood over some perceived insult, and a tabloid journalist looking to make a quick buck. And that all adds to a roller coaster, a quick-witted, fast-paced, delightful, visceral action, a hell of a good time, and overall just a lot of viewing enjoyment in my estimation. Some parts of it go a little bit too far with credulity, or feel like they maybe don't quite belong. Like I said, the aforementioned Colin Farrell, while he is not so bad, although weird, his weird little crew of merry men, robbers, YouTube video posters, MMA wannabes, fighter wannabes, that almost feels out of place the way they present them. They probably could have done that group maybe a little bit better, but I think it's splitting hairs, and for the most part, the stuff that doesn't work is few and far between, and you just roll with those punches. Also, the guy, this is just standard for a Guy Ritchie British movie, that the vernacular can be a bit, shall we say, challenging at times. Might think about putting on the subtitles. I never actually got there. But then again, that's also part of the charm. It makes it more an immersive experience that you're participating in. So overall, I thought this was a wonderful movie. Great characters, pinpoint script, good amount of action, good amount of funny. The acting and cast are brilliant. This is a return to form for Guy Ritchie. I don't know if it's going to be as commercially successful. Like I said, he's been trodden a path of commercial viability. I'm not so sure about critical viability, because he did like the Sherlock Holmes movies and he did the Aladdin movie. But this really returns him to the genre that made him a star director in the first place. And I hope we see some more of this kind of quality product from him. Overall, it's one of his better movies in recent years, I think. So overall, I'm going to give The Gentleman, directed by Guy Ritchie, a C+. C+. No. Disregard. B+. I don't know why I said C+. I was just like off my rocker there for a second. Totally brain farted. B+. That's what I wrote there. That's what I'm saying here. B+. I love you. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching my movie review. I enjoyed making it as always. I am Eric Hoernke, and that rhymes with turnkey. As always, this has been a production of Zero Value. Thanks for watching.